let's talk about what you should do. Before we get into the details, let's examine the structure of the personal statement. Your statement should be no longer than 1 page under standard parameters. That's font size, tabs, spacing. The following is a general guideline for how to organize your personal statement. You're going to need the introduction, which we talked about. You'll need the body. The body should have several paragraphs, usually 3, that provides evidence to support the statement made in the introduction. The paragraph should flow by using transitions and resolutions. Each paragraph should have a transition, which starts each paragraph with a topic statement that will be the theme of that paragraph. Each paragraph should also have a resolution, which ends each paragraph with a meaningful sentence that provides transition to the next paragraph. In the body, you're also going to need a paragraph stating your future goals in your career, your specialty, and medicine in general. You also need to mention what you expect and desire from a residency program. After the body, you'll have your conclusion. The conclusion should tie everything together and bring your statement full circle. Here, you'll restate your interest in the field, as well as mention key points made in the body. It's always a good idea to end on a positive note, with 1 or 2 attention-grabbing sentences. Choosing your subject, your story. Choosing what to write about can be the most difficult part of the process. No matter how poetic and brilliant you are as a writer, or vice versa, a good piece of writing is only as good as the subject being written about. It can make a good writer bad, and a bad writer, well, not so bad. The general idea is to choose a story or topic that will give the program deeper insight about what made you want to pursue the career in medicine. To that end, the easiest and most logical thing to write about is something that actually influenced your path towards residency. If you're honest with yourself about why you want to be a physician in the United States, it'll help narrow down your list of things to write about. You then need to take into account the specialty you're applying for and ask yourself, does my story help prove why I would be perfect for this specialty? An obvious example would be not to use a surgical experience in a personal statement being sent to an internal medicine residency program. You need to keep in mind skill sets. While the core skills of being a doctor span all specialties, there are some characteristics that would predispose someone to one specialty over another. Make sure your topic submits evidence towards your potential in the field of your choosing. Another thing you can do is talk it out with a close friend. I've sat with a lot of students in the past trying to help them find the right subject for their personal statement. I asked them to come back with 5 different subjects or stories that helped influence their path to medicine. We'll then talk about them. And almost without fail, we'll start to talk about their experience, whether it's on the list or not, and the student will get to a story and get a little choked up. I'll get goosebumps, reach over and hand him or her a box of tissues, and say without hesitation, that's your personal statement. The first line rule, capturing their attention from the start. A good statement begins with a great first line. This is what I do. I take a pile of personal statements and I read the first line. If the first line captures my attention and seems interesting, then it goes in the read first pile. The ones with the so-so, boring first lines go in the read if I have time later pile. The first line is like the opening scene of a TV drama. Popular shows like House MD, Alias, Grey's Anatomy, and 24 utilize this technique to full effect. For example, an episode of House MD will cut straight into a scene of Dr. House waking up in the middle of a nightclub and realizing that he has blood on his head. He walks out of the club and finds a disaster has occurred outside. They then cut to the title credit, House MD. The first reaction that the viewer has is, wait, how'd that happen? Or, what happens next? You, as a writer, have the same power to draw your reader in. When you're sitting there, trying to think of an opening line, close your eyes and picture your story as a TV drama. Then paint that very same picture in words in your first few lines. Getting down to business. Relating your story back to medicine. Whether you decide to write about a past medical experience or go off the beaten path and take a non-medically related story that shows how your personality and decision-making style lend themselves well to the specialty, you always need to bring it back to the future. In other words, whatever story you tell, you have to cleanly tie it together with why you decided to pursue a specialty. For example, if you're going to write about the time you helped during a natural disaster, it needs to be followed up with a paragraph describing how the skill sets you displayed during that story are the exact ones needed to succeed in the specialty you're applying for. In this case, that paragraph might look like this. My experience in helping victims during the New Orleans floods has led me straight to the specialty of emergency medicine. The skills that came naturally to me during that crisis are the same ones I would like to utilize and build upon during my residency and throughout my career. During that experience, I kept a level head, worked well with both supervisors and those looking towards me for leadership, thought quickly on my feet, and stayed as organized as possible given the situation. I look forward to learning from those that came before me to help further develop these skills as I begin my career. The above example is a decent paragraph in a first draft or first attempt at your personal statement. I just sat here for 10 minutes reading it over and over again, and while I found some mistakes and corrected them, experience has proven that I will not find everything on my own. I say this because it is very easy to get frustrated by the first draft. Remember, however, you can't get to the final draft without first soldiering through the first draft. The best way to get from the first to the final versions is to have others read what you write during the various stages of your writing process. Sometimes your best friend can be your worst enemy in correcting drafts, as they may be too nice in their assessment. I'm not saying go find your worst enemy, but you need to go look for someone that you have no emotional ties to and that won't be afraid to hurt your feelings. With a mix of people reading it, they'll offer you perspectives that you may not have seen before. Remember to always take the good with the bad when it comes to comments or criticisms about your writing. I know it's hard to listen to someone pick apart something you worked hard on, but it's the only way to get better. It's a mentality you'll need during your residency anyway, so just think of it as practice for the moral beatdown that you're going to get during your training years. Another great way for you to improve your personal statement is to record yourself reading it. Pretend you're James Earl Jones doing a voiceover for your movie trailer. Listening to yourself tell a story is an easy way to spot flow problems in your storytelling. It'll be weird hearing your own voice, but it's an exercise that could make a big difference with the quality of your personal statement. No one expects you to be a great writer, but programs do expect you to seek help and submit the best possible statement you can. Knowing your limits and being able to ask for help from someone with more developed skills than you is another skill you'll need to take into residency. Did I mention to use spell check and grammar check? Submitting a statement with spelling and grammar errors is disrespectful and gives the program the impression that you do not take pride in your work and you don't care to take the time to put your best foot forward. Be thankful that they care. Applicants tend to overlook the importance of the personal statement. Waiting until the last minute to write it is not uncommon and is by far the most common mistake made. While the process will take time and effort, keep in mind when you get frustrated by it that it's an opportunity that the programs are offering you to separate yourself from the rest of the applicants. Programs could easily just go on scores, transcripts, interviews, and experience and define you by that alone. Instead, they value their residence and training programs enough to get to know their applicants on a more personal level. Residency training programs are like a family. Only in this family, they get to choose their members. I bet some of us wish they could do the same. With that in mind, as you begin thinking about how you want to portray yourself in your personal statement, ask yourself what you value in a good family member, and go from there. The right personal statement will not only give programs insight about you that they couldn't find anywhere else on the application packet, but it will also, hopefully, remind you why you worked so hard to get where you are now. You're so close. Now go finish what you started.